Sometimes the price for standing up for your convictions, fighting corruption in government, and just doing your job can get you disbarred and land you in prison. Welcome to PA Voter Information Network. This is Larry DeMarco, your host. Do you watch my YouTube channel but haven't subscribed yet? Why not now? It's easy and free. Just click the red button and the bell right beside it, and you will be notified of all new content. This is part 3 of a 5-part series. In part 1, we learned that Richard Fine was one of the best lawyers in the state of California, saving taxpayers over $1 billion by filing lawsuits against the government. In part 2, he stumbled across a judicial bribery scandal of epic proportions. And in this episode, Richard Fine discusses his disbarment and imprisonment for contempt when he requested recusal from the judges collecting those bribes.
Mr. Fine was the subject of an enormous amount of just visceral hatred on the part of the judges.
The judge's hatred for Mr. Fine completely abrogated any sense of justice, and everybody in the courthouse knew it.
It became just a vindictive action that was maintained simply because of the enmity with which Mr. Fine was viewed by judges.
First, in this next clip, Richard mentions that the State Bar initially dropped the attack against his law license.
We go to trial in 2004. I moved to summary judgment against the State Bar. The day before the trials start, the State Bar drops the charges. Later in 2004, what happens is that Mitchell secretly goes to the State Bar to complain again. Now, they never tell me about it. During the same period of time, I am retained by the Coalition to Save the Marina and the Marina Tenants Association to go against the County of Los Angeles with respect to the leasing of Marina del Rey to private developers. Now, I don't know how many of you people know that Marina del Rey is the largest private yacht harbor in America. It's 400 acres of water and 400 acres of land owned by LA County. And LA County goes out and it leases the land to private developers who then put apartment buildings on this land and then collect money on the rents on the apartment buildings. And they give a certain percentage to LA County. Now, first of all, county can't go out and give public land to private developers. That's against California Constitution. Worst part of it is, however, is that the developers are making $350 million a year in rent. Now, how much do you think the county gets? No, they get $30 million a year. 10%. Now, on a commercial lease, if you take that same thing on commercial property and everything, they should be getting $100 million. So we, the taxpayers, were losing somewhere in the vicinity of about $70 million a year. Now, who gives to the supervisors? Go and take a look at the contributions? Your friendly developers. So for a few $1,000s in contributions to their campaigns, the developers are making all this money. Well, case gets assigned to, I brought about 5 cases at this point, to Susana Bruguera. And lo and behold, the Court of Appeals just knocks it out. Says, forget you, Richard. Now we come to Judge Yaffe. What occurs is that in Marina del Rey, there are a couple of lawsuits with Jerry Epstein. Jerry Epstein is a big-time developer in Marina del Rey. Jerry Epstein had a project called Del Rey Shores North. So he goes in to get this development done. Well, there are a lot of illegal things about this. But Jerry goes in and does it. I get hired by the condominium project next door to stop the EIR. We go through the the regular commissions and everything, we get to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors passes it. Now, what the board doesn't tell anybody, and what wasn't in the public domain at this particular point in time, is that 6 weeks before that vote, good old Jerry and his family, and his chief of staff, as he called it, gave Antonovich and Kanabi, 2 of the 4 members of the Board of Supervisors, a few $1,000s each. Now, the law says that if a supervisor gets money within a year before a vote, he can't vote on the project. Well, that didn't bother Antonovich and Kanabi at all. No, they happily voted on the project. The board didn't tell anybody about the money. We go in and we sue to stop the EIR. Judge Yaffe becomes the judge. Judge Yaffe has received, at this point in time, $829,000 from LA County in illegal payments. Now, what takes place is that I bring the lawsuit. Now, in the meantime, we now go to the state bar. In 2006, the state bar comes in and moves for my disbarment. Now, who's the president of the state bar? Sheldon Sloan. Sheldon Sloan is representing Jerry Epstein against me in another case. Who's the incoming president of the state bar is a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he works for the law firm Munger, Tolles, and Olson that is representing the county in the negotiations with Jerry Epstein in this particular case. And who is also on the state bar, Laura Chick, who is involved in one of the cases that I sued the city of Los Angeles for. So we've got 3 people on the Board of Governors on the state bar who want to knock me off. Okay, the case goes through the state bar, and we get, the state bar comes out, and they, by the way, they're suing me for papers that I filed in court, only, which is protected by the First Amendment. We get up into the appellate division of the state bar, because the first guy in the state bar decides that I should be disbarred, so he issues an order making me inoperative. So I have to drop out of the case. A new lawyer comes in, and we now get to January 2008. Judge Yaffe decides that the case can go forward, but I should pay money to the other side, which is a wrong decision. Also, he does this without letting me know, which also violates the Constitution. You know, I find out about this, and I come in and say, Yaffe, you can't decide anything because you're on the take. And Yaffe, responds by coming out with a fake order saying that I can't challenge him. I attend the hearing and I get him to admit that he's on the take. And then I bring another motion to knock him out, which he never responds to, which then knocks him out completely. He responds by putting in an order, an illegal judgment, saying that I have to pay $40,000. And that goes all the way down the line, which ends up with his holding me in contempt. But before he does that, at the contempt trial, I put him on the stand. Now he's now the judge and the witness. He's the judge judging his own actions as the witness. And I get him to admit that he took the money, he didn't put it into his campaign things, he put it into his own pocket, and I get him to admit all of these things. He still holds me in contempt. And that's how I ended up going into jail.
Full Disclosure has been the lone voice covering the travesty of the arrest of former U.S. Prosecutor Richard I. Fine, who was jailed in the harshest possible condition of solitary coercive confinement for 18 months, merely for civil contempt of court.
This has been part 3 of a 5-part series. In the next episode, Richard Fine gets out of jail and the California legislature responds by granting the dirty judges retroactive immunity from prosecution and allows the crimes against the courts and taxpayers to continue. If you like this episode, please click the like button, forward this episode to all the people on your contact list and Facebook friends, and please comment in the space below. I would love to receive your feedback. Signing off. Tune in next time. Bye for now.